Hi there. Have you ever tried one of these healthcare apps that nowadays is obviously available? Well, I'm not sure if we can find them all over the globe, but at least in my country and in a lot of countries in Europe, you find them. It's just a Skype connection. You know, you press play, you connect to a doctor in the other end, and then you can tell about your flu and you get a recipe. It's a rather simple technological solution in some sense, but they still seem to be growing quite a lot. It's a rather good case of what we can do with digital tools today, making things cheaper and faster, which we obviously can in the situation of meeting a doctor. You don't have to wait in line, and it's a rather cheap service. Not to forget how many doctors you could schedule per patient, or how many patients per doctor you could schedule. But I don't think that is the interesting thing here, because in the long run, if we just compete on low cost, it's a race to the bottom. And if I try to compete with you just by making the same thing as you do, but cheaper, well, if I push you too hard, you will make it cheaper. Or just lower the price and then I might be gone. So I think it's another detail worth looking into here. Quality. What is actually quality when it comes to a meeting with a doctor? Well, of course, it's about getting the right kind of a prescription and recipe. And yes, if it's a complicated issue where a doctor needs to feel us, even smell, they are very likely to tell you to go to a physical healthcare center. But when I go to a physical healthcare center, I just meet one doctor. And maybe that doctor makes the wrong kind of decision. Imagine the doctor knew it was a tricky situation. What would the doctor do? Well, normally the doctor might actually go and ask a colleague who's around at the same healthcare center. But with a digital connection, like these ones, you could actually make it possible for that doctor to meet huge amounts of professionals in a certain field. And then suddenly the quality in this service becomes tremendously good. And adding to that, is that even possible to do in a physical healthcare center? No, it's not. And that's when it's becoming interesting. And I think it's a good example showing that it's not necessarily only about lowering cost with help of digital tools. We can actually also, at the same time, increase quality. What does happen to people when they stumble on things that can make it far better compared to yesterday, far cheaper compared to yesterday? Not only cheaper. Well, if I lower the price of a product and a service with something like 5% or maybe 10%, you might actually not care. There is always a possibility for you finding something cheaper than what you already have at this moment. But if I can really make it cheaper, like 50% of the cost, and at the same time increase quality with like 50%, then the difference becomes fundamentally big. And what will that lead to in the long run? Well, it's very likely that people in the long run will prefer to get far more for far less. And then industrial systems really starts to change. Because how actually should a physical healthcare center act in order to compete with this? And then this is actually not just a simple Skype connection anymore. Cool, right?